on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and there's a pay-per-view in a couple of days, so it's time for Spaz and OKAYFABE to tackle the Royal Rumble. Connor, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Not much, my friend. I was actually gonna, when you said tackle, I was gonna go like, huh! But that could mean so many different sound effects.
You thrust your pelvis, huh! You thrust your pelvis, huh!
Just like that.
That's a classy way to start the friggin' thing.
Anyways, start with insertion by bending over. I've seen way too many 1950 snuff films, so just anyway, there's a pay-per-view, right?
And uncomfortable comments go that way. Yes, there is a pay-per-view this coming Sunday. I believe it's called the Royal Rumble, actually.
The Royal Fumble, the biggest game of The Floor is Lava.
It's true. It really, really is true. I don't have any really nice way to segue into this, so I'm just going to do it clumsily. We usually talk about a couple random things before we get into the pay-per-view. Most people know by now we've had the announcement for WrestleMania 32 in Dallas at the newly constructed AT&T Center.
Yeah, it's fairly new. I think it's less than 2 years old, if even that.
The big talking point of this is their main goal being to surpass WrestleMania 3 in an arena that can hold approximately 105,000 people.
Everything's bigger in Texas, folks.
It's true, except for Deluxe Man. But seriously, and I don't even, like, this is without standing, like, the fact that it's WrestleMania, what matches may or may not happen, whether the show's even any good. I'm just thinking right now, they open up the top of that building with a camera pointing straight down on 105,000 people.
It's gonna look amazing.
It's gonna be fucking phenomenal. I mean, like, the nosebleed seats at that show are gonna be, like, you might as well not be in the arena.
So remember a couple of years ago where there was that rumor that they wanted to do Sin Cara versus Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania?
Oh, because they wanted to have the most merchandise masks bought at a single show?
Well, the most masks worn in an arena at one time, but that's the WrestleMania to do it. That one.
See, you know what? For the purposes of that, I could almost see them just, like, giving away a mask with the ticket, just to see if people will participate. I mean, how much does one of those masks cost? Like $5?
I mean, depending on what country you're buying it from, but yeah.
Well, I mean, like from WWE shop, because that's what they would be handing them out from.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, true, but yeah. I mean, think about that though. I mean, you break an indoor attendance record and a Guinness World Record at the same time. To me, that's success.
Yeah, I saw the little clip they did on I saw it on the WWE website, but it was apparently taken from the network as an exclusive, and they almost treated it like a news bulletin, which I thought was a really cool thing to do. But they had Michael Cole and Mark Henry sort of live on the scene from the announcement, and even where they were shooting the interview with Michael Cole, you couldn't really take in the whole scope of the size of this friggin' building.
Yeah.
The filming in a venue like that in itself will be such a ridiculous task. It'll take like months to just lay it out.
I did some digging, and apparently, well, they do that for every Mania. They plan out months in advance. For, Mania in terms of the stage and all that. Because you probably see this every year. Like they'll show like in February they'll show whatever stadium that they're getting ready for.
Yeah.
They'll show like they're putting up the set now. It's like, well, it's only February 1st. April's gonna come pretty quick. You mean to tell me that fucker takes 2 months to build? Jesus.
Well, not only that, but if you figure if they're building it that early, that means they have to build it in such a way that it's deconstructible, because it's not like nothing happens in that arena for the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You have to almost build it in parts. You have to construct your set basically out of Lego. But I think that whenever you talk about construction challenges at WrestleMania, I think the worst. Or I won't say the worst, but I think probably the most challenging one would have been, was it WrestleMania 27 when they did the end of the era match? The Hell in a Cell. That'd be 28. And it was an open-top arena, or open-top stadium, which is what they like to do for Mania now. And it's like, okay, typically they hang the Hell in the Cell from the ceiling. What do you do with no ceiling? And then they made that massively impressive, like, it was square, but it was all rounded off. The big 4-sided Tron.
Yeah,
that had the cell inside it.
Did you ever play the board game Mousetrap?
Yes.
That's exactly what it made me think of.
That's what it made me think of too. But it was one of those things where I remember going into the pay-per-view, kind of being a smartass. It's like, oh yeah, how are they going to do Hell in the Cell when there's no ceiling? And then for the first couple of seconds of the show, I saw the massive Tron, and then it took me a minute to realize, okay, how massive is that Tron? The Hell in the Cell is inside it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the big scope of WrestleMania, and to do it in an arena that size. I mean, you see that building. They showed some shots from the outside as well, with Mark Henry doing the publicity, which is great. Him being from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
But the even from the outside, the building looks like a fucking city.
It does. It looks like a small village. Yeah, you have to, folks. You gotta really, if you want to take in how huge this stadium is, you gotta go and look online from pictures other than just WWE, because WWE won't do it justice. The scope of this place is insanity, and you have to think too. When you look at the stadium, you probably see the football field. Well, keep in mind, obviously, we're not going to use the entire football field. Maybe a third, no, not even a third. Maybe less than a tenth of the stadium, less than a tenth, will take up from the stage and the background and all that stuff. But then you've got the small, thin ramp and the ring. That's really it. The rest is going to be floor.
And people.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to take in the scope of this place, really, take a look at all the famous shots we've seen of WrestleMania 3, the 93,000 in the Silverdome there. Take a look at that and how massive that is, and now imagine that you're adding at least another 10,000 people.
Yeah.
So you're taking WrestleMania 3 plus a decently attended Raw.
Which is another thing I'm actually looking forward to, is the Raw after WrestleMania. It seems that apparently WWE has obviously taken notice at the fact that the crowd is vastly different the night after WrestleMania, and there's sometimes just as much viewership, if not more. Well, I shouldn't say if not more, but more, just as much viewership as WrestleMania, because it's become a habit that something big always happens
the night after.
Right? Yeah, the Raw after WrestleMania.
But again, how many people, and this is people with way more money than I can ever hope to see in my life, how many people, when WrestleMania comes around, especially if they're coming from, say, the UK or other places overseas, how many people buy a block of tickets so that they're at Access, they're at the Hall of Fame, they're at WrestleMania, they're at the Raw afterwards?
Well, that's why WWE is genius when it comes to business, because what they did was...
How much money do they bring to the cities when WrestleMania comes around?
It's ridiculous. Literally in the millions. You have to understand that when WWE, they revamped it, I think about 6, maybe a little bit longer years ago, where they revamped their travel packages. Originally, you just got flight, hotel, and Mania. Well, now there's other things to go to, and it really does become a week-long thing. So now you have tickets to Access. When I have tickets to other Access things, like a mini Comic-Con.
Oh, for sure.
Tickets to Hall of Fame. Now you have tickets to Mania. Now you have tickets to Raw the night after, because usually the Raw is in the same general town, if not, within 5 months.
I mean, they're not going to hold Raw the next night in the AT&T Center again, but they'll be down the road somewhere. The other half of that you got to imagine is the more people you bring in, the more money you bring into the city. But friggin', say what you want about WWE, but how much charity do they bring in that week?
I think last year they did over, don't ask me how I know this, $45 million to the city, and I believe a third of that was for charitable profits. Now, the reason you probably are asking where the hell does all that money come from, there's a couple of areas it comes from. Obviously, when WWE has to use the stadium, there's that huge, heavy price, fee. Keep in mind that they're using the stadium for Mania, the arena for Raw, presumably.
The arena for the Hall of Fame.
And Access. All those are 4 separate venues. So you have that right off the bat. They're doing publicity stunts all over the place. The flights of not only the wrestlers, but also the people coming in. When flights come into a town, you're charging the airfare to transport you, but a portion of that ticket price does go back to the cities that they're going from. So if you say, for me, we're going from Boston to Texas, Boston would get a cut, and Texas would get a cut for convenience fees.
Right.
And then, of course, the last big one is the hotels. So all those things combined.
And tourists need to eat.
Yeah, no kidding. Tourists. And plus now, I mean, I don't know how it is going to be this year, but, you know, back around 27, 28, not only WWE was there, but a lot of major independent wrestling promotions, which was a smart move on their part,
which apparently WWE is trying to squash this year, from what I've heard.
I believe they said when they locked in Mania 31 and 30, I think, that they were trying to get some sort of mini bill passed that no, quote, sports entertainment venues could be held within, God, like 100 miles of WrestleMania or any. Or no,
I think they were trying to get sort of an exclusivity deal for that week.
Yes.
As I say, I've only heard that in rumor. I do not know the details. If that's true, kind of a smart but dick move on WWE's part. But I mean, they're the biggest kids on the playground. They've got the best toys, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're any major center, whether it be Texas, whether it be New York, whether it would be up here for me in Toronto, WrestleMania is going to bring you a lot more money than Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah.
And I don't say that, like, I don't know enough about ROH to dig at them, so I hope you believe me when I'm not saying that as a dig. It's just reality.
Right. No,
like TNA going to the Ricoh Coliseum is not going to be as big as Mania going to Skydome, which I was there for, just saying.
It's the one I haven't gone to yet. I've been to a Survivor Series, 2 Royal Rumbles, a SummerSlam, probably another SummerSlam, a Backlash, a Money in the Bank, and a Night of Champions. I have not yet been to WrestleMania. Oh, by the way, I'll probably be at. I'm hoping to go to SummerSlam this year, and if not, I'm definitely going to be at TLC.
Nice.
TLC will be in Boston.
I was at. I don't remember the name of it, but we did have one TNA pay-per-view up here in Peterborough, Ontario, which was not bad. This was back in the original 6-sided ring days, and it wasn't huge by any stretch of the imagination, but that was fun. I was at.
There's no surrender.
Maybe. I was at Unforgiven 2006, which was great. The McMahons and Big Show versus DX in the cage. Friggin' Edge versus Cena, TLC. Hardy versus Morrison for, I believe, the IC title was pretty damn great. And obviously the big mecca. I was there for WrestleMania 18, Rock versus Hogan, which was fucking phenomenal. And I've been down to your neck of the woods with our good common friend Steffi Sunshine for the 2013 Survivor Series, which a lot of people shit on, but I had a good time.
There you go.
We had a guy sitting next to us that was a big Undertaker fan who just kept on showing us pictures of various shows he's been to, and look how close I got to the Undertaker, and it was like, okay, cool, okay, great, okay, fantastic, okay, now you're being creepy. it was one of those.
Yeah.
But no, I've the one thing I haven't actually seen that's really sort of on my bucket list is the show we're going to talk about tonight, which is the Royal Rumble.
Me too. I was the one. Actually, my very first.
Were you the one in 30 and 1?
Yes, I was the one in 30, or the one in 40 and 1, or in a 40, which means I was drunk.
Wait a minute, you were there for the 40-man Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
Ass.
Yes, I was at the one where Del Rio won, and I was also at the one where Brock won.
I was happy about the Del Rio one for so many reasons. I liked the two big factions with the Nexus and the Core. I liked the 40-man Rumble concept, and I loved the Del Rio one. Mm-hmm. If it had not been the fact that Edge was the champion at the time, I would have been pissed that Del Rio didn't win at that Royal Rumble or at that WrestleMania.
Yeah, makes sense. But anyway, speaking of Royal Rumble, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6? Again, 6 matches?
Yeah. The one other thing that I wanted to mention before we got into the Royal Rumble, and this will literally take 2 seconds. Interesting announcement as to who just got signed by WWE Developmental.
Wait, who?
Crimson.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. TNA's Crimson.
TNA's Crimson, like Amazing Red's big little brother.
Huh.
I wish they had signed them as a team.
Interesting. Did you also hear about what they also announced as well, too?
What's that?
The return of Tough Enough.
Uh,
Now, here's the weird part.
Me attempting to give a shit?
We're getting sidetracked. Welcome to the show, folks.
Yeah, for real.
So,
I don't know why we need Tough Enough. We have NXT.
they're trying to bring reality aspect to it. I believe, I'm checking out real quick, I just want to see it. I believe, oh, okay, it will be on the USA Network. Okay, I wasn't sure it was going to be on the WWE or USA. So it's a USA Reality Network, reality show, just like it was last time. Except the difference with this is, and this is where I'm going to roll my eyes, they did a casting call, and basically the idea is that the show will take place, majority, if not all of it, will take place at the Performance Center. The winner will get called up to the NXT roster. So, not bad.
So basically what you're saying is WWE has created this great developmental program, and now the developmental program has a developmental program.
Yeah. A glamorized development program going into a legit one. And that's where it gets intriguing, because let's all remember this, folks, and just take this into consideration.
Whatever happened to the guy that won the last Tough Enough?
I was just about to say that. Andy Levine, who won the last Tough Enough, never got to TV. He had a couple of segments with Stone Cold, got stunned, and never got called up.
But what I think is funny is look at other Tough Enough alumni that didn't win, that did go on to TV. The Miz.
Yep.
Josh Matthews in a different way, but Josh Matthews, who's now in TNA and doing quite well, and friggin' Ryback. Morrison, okay. Yeah, you're gonna be able to rhyme off more of these than I did, because back when it was on Much Music or whatever it was on, I didn't watch it.
Let's see. So who else? Josh Matthews was one of the first ones that would do it long term. Another one was Miz, Ryback.
I do want to say this for a second. Before Miz was an in-ring competitor, I loved his comedy shtick as the host of SmackDown.
It was a good opening. I thought it was pretty...
Like, just seeing him out in the crowd, sort of almost... not commentary as far as wrestling commentary, but like doing his own commentary in like little like sound bites.
Yeah.
It worked. It wouldn't have worked on Raw, but with SmackDown the way it was at the time, I think it worked really well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anyways, but yeah, Crimson. It almost makes me sad that they didn't sign Red, because I think Crimson and Red as a team. Obviously, they wouldn't have been Crimson and Red, but I think they would have been a really interesting tag team to throw into the mix, especially on NXT, to go up against a team like the Lucha Dragons.
Ooh. See, I...
Can you imagine Amazing Red versus Kalisto?
I'm more picturing, like, Amazing Red versus Hideo Itami, which I'm pretty sure they did in Ring of Honor. Amazing Red versus Finn Balor. More importantly, Amazing Red versus Adrian Neville. Now that can sell tickets. That alone. And I said this actually... cheap love.
Red versus Zayn?
I guarantee, not only I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure not only have they faced each other, I'm pretty sure they've been tag team partners too.
Nice.
Which is funny because I mentioned this on Cheap Little Plug, the latest episode of the OKAYFABE Random Wrestling Podcast with...
Yeah, you interviewed some guy on there, I just can't think of his name at the moment.
Prick.
It's a good thing I'm not Mexican, or I could be really offended right now.
Yeah,
There goes my international audience.
I was going to say, there goes that dislike button has never been hotter.
I was going to say, I probably have as big a Mexican audience as WWE has an Indian audience after the whole Great Khali debacle. Anyways.
Your international market's deflating faster than the Patriots football.
Ooh.
Hey, I can say that. I'm from Boston, alright?
It's more along the lines of I don't watch anything other than wrestling, so yeah.
Neither do I. But it's kind of fun as hell that they're basically saying that the Patriots won because the footballs weren't fully inflated.
Oh. Why? Just why?
Stupid.
Just
Anyway,
why?
speaking of stupid, let's talk about wrestling.
Yeah, let's do that. We have the Royal Rumble coming up, and as I mentioned on your podcast yesterday, which we were nice enough to host for, have me on there with you as on words. Unless they add something else, there is not a single singles match on this card. We have the 6-man, we have the Divas tag, we have the tag titles, we have the new team versus old team, we have the triple threat, and we have the 30-man Rumble.
Right.
Will this necessarily be a downfall to the show?
No, I think it'll be the exact opposite. I think it will. I think that it obviously depends on the input of talent and everything like that. But I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that makes it a unique factor about it. I think you have some interesting interesting traits to it. You can only do so much one-on-one, and I mean that in every possible perverted sense.
Oh my!
But if you add other factors, other variables to the match, now you've got something that to really capture attention. And to be honest, if they really, I know they're probably not going to give it that much time because it's a pre-show match, but even the pre-show match,
I think here's the thing, we always talk about, or at least we have in past increments of our collaborating, what we think is going to be the dark match. Honestly, I think they put the dark match on the pre-show. So we could go ahead and talk about the New Day versus Kid Cesaro and Adam Rose.
Yeah. We were talking about this in the podcast yesterday. How?
By the way, guys, there's a podcast.
Yep.
Connor kind of hosted. I kind of went and hung out for a little bit. There's a podcast, and I was on it, and Connor hosted it, and Connor has a podcast and had me on there as a guest.
Careful, you're going to get into a loop there.
Mm-hmm. As I said on the podcast last night, it still blows my mind that you got 3 great talents like they have in the new faction there, and people are still shitting on the New Day just because they decided on day one that they weren't gonna like it because of this, and meanwhile these guys are going out there. They've blended well. They look like they're having fun. They had this exact match on main event, which is a crime. Because, as I've said multiple times, this match should have at least happened on Raw. This match, in my opinion, belongs on the card. Kid and Cesaro are forming a great unit. Adam Rose looks like he's in the... Well, it doesn't look like. He is in the process of an amazing heel turn. Hopefully he drops the Exotic Express entirely one day and just fucking either loses his shit and becomes like the bad party guy, or goes completely O. Kruger. Either one of those wouldn't hurt my feelings whatsoever. But this trio, whereas you think Kid already had a tag team going on with Justin Gabriel, Cesaro we thought was getting a singles push, and Adam Rose we were seeing up until recently as a really goofy guy, they don't sound like they should go together as well as they do.
See, the thing of it is, I don't know if I mentioned this with you, Cesaro Kid could be a phenomenal tag team. They could be the tag team of the year.
But will they?
No. Unless they're able to do something to garner a majority of attention really fast, they don't have the machine behind them. I've learned watching wrestling enough that you could have, and I'm sure a lot of people on the IWC, YWC probably agree with me, is this. You can have the most amazing talent in the world. If you don't know how good Cesaro is, I encourage you, go on YouTube and type in Claudio Castagnoli and type in Chikara. You will see him do some amazing feats that you will never see anyone else, or have not seen anyone else done in over probably at least 10 years. He has a phenomenal ability. Tyson Kidd's the same. The problem is that if you don't have someone who cares enough about you putting some sort of locomotion up your ass to get you to where you need to be, you're going to get stuck. It's funny how these two guys, and Adam Rose is actually a pretty decent wrestler too. Leo Kruger, FCW, look that up too. Phenomenal talent. How these talent guys are all really good, and WWE has a really deep, good roster, but they're not getting over because they need people in certain places. Now, this sounds like some sort of conspiracy theorist. I'm saying like, oh, well, this and that. But legitimately, a lot of us have been saying that Dolph Ziggler deserves to be up with those superstars, whereas, up in the world title picture or, carrying the brand. Now, that's debatable, but if you realize that he really didn't get much traction until, like, Survivor Series and then started getting some... So my point being is that, the point being is that you can have the greatest talent in the world, but if you don't have the machine behind you, it's going to be a much bigger, much worse uphill battle.
And I can see that. I think, and it's ironic if you consider who all was on Raw this past Monday, but I look at a team like Kid and Cesaro, and you know what they kind of make me think of, just in that realm of like two guys that weren't really doing anything and got kind of thrown together. They remind me of a serious New Age Outlaws.
Okay.
Like, take the comedy angle out. Like, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, when you saw them separately, shouldn't have worked. But they did. And I think with Kid and Cesaro, you're getting the serious, heel, intense equivalent of that. I mean, again, to your point, it's gonna largely hinge on if anybody gets behind them and whatnot. Obviously, the crowd already is. There's little idiosyncrasies about Cesaro where everybody was like, oh, he has to turn face because he's doing all these moves that please the fans, and he does the swing, and that's fun. You put him in this tag team with Tyson Kidd, that, Cesaro swing that everybody thought was so fun now ends with a drop kick to the head. Now it's a heel move.
Yeah.
And they've got that stalling suplex that's almost like a modified heart attack. Like they're already meshing, they're already blending, they're already creating tandem elements to their offense. They're doing some kind of hand signal thing that I can't really make out because they always do it very fast or they always do it kind of off camera. The rumor is at live events and house shows they're being announced as the Masters of the WWE Universe, which is a name that kind of makes me think of the world's greatest tag team.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing actually.
But I think even if it's under WWE's nose or behind WWE's back, they are creating themselves, whether WWE wants to admit it or not. So even if they don't, on paper, have the backing, they're going to have the fans' backing. And eventually that has to shine through. Even if they want to treat them like, oh, these are the indie guys that never really get pushed, like Daniel Bryan. Even if they want to look at it in that way and have all the other teams be like overly flashy to sort of mask how serious these guys are, it will still shine through. And I can't believe that it won't. Adam Rose is kind of floundering right now.
Yeah.
But, again, even in the one match that we saw, like we said, on main event, which was a crime, but even Rose thrown into this mix seems out of place, but these three guys gelled like crazy. They had a good thing. And like I say, the New Day, yeah, it's a little goofy, yeah, it's overly positive, but it works. The guys that are doing it are having legitimate fun, it looks like, and they're coming together, and they have tandem offense, and they have in a very short period of time, developed a team identity. And I just...
Yeah, it should be an interesting match. It's different styles all around.
Well, even within the two teams, I mean, you got Tyson, who's technical, Cesaro, who's technical but also very smash mouth, Adam Rose, who's a little bit more for show, even as a heel. You've got, on the other side, you got Kofi Kingston, who's known as the High Flyer, Xavier Woods, who's still relatively new to the roster, and Big E, who in the grand scheme of things is still new to the roster, but has already kind of been established as a powerhouse and a former champion.
Right.
So, all the way, and there's a lot of, and I know I harp on this a lot, but there's a lot of NXT representation in this too. Xavier Woods is from NXT. friggin' Big E is from NXT, former NXT champion. Tyson Kidd was, a WWE guy, but then he sort of recreated himself in NXT. Adam Rose, whether he succeeds or fails, is from NXT. Cesaro's got the indie backing of, like you say, like Shakara or ROH and that sort of thing. There's nothing, and you got Kofi Kingston in the mix, who people think should be a world champion. So there's nothing really in this match for people to boo.
No, and I think that this is, I hope this is one of those matches that they give him a little extra time in, because number one, it's a 6-man tag, and usually 6-man tags are, pretty short and sweet to the point, but it's elimination.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Yes, it is a 6-man elimination tag.
Okay, well that's entirely new altogether. The fact that most of I don't know if this one is, because I honestly haven't looked, but a lot of the pre-shows they've been bumping to an hour, and if they bump it to an hour, I can't see this match not getting like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was expecting too, so I'm probably expecting a quick elimination at first, but I'm pretty hopeful, and to be honest,
I gotta say, I see Rose getting bumped, and I see Woods getting bumped, because apparently he just had something wrong with his foot not too long ago. But if we go...
I guarantee you then, Woods had something with his foot?
Woods had something going on with his foot sometime recently, so I can see him being in there for a little bit. I can see Rose getting bumped, because Kidd and Cesaro are the team of that team. Yeah. And if the lion's share of the match is Kofi and Big E versus Kidd and Cesaro, you got two small fast guys versus two large powerhouses.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen? I guarantee you, Woods will get knocked out within the first 2 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so he's out. You do the 3-on-2 scenario, probably with Kofi. Then Kofi gets the hot tag into Big E and probably eliminates Rose. Somehow a combination between Kidd and Cesaro gets rid of Big E. You have Kofi do the underdog thing and come back eliminating both of them. Boom. Mm. So
I can see it. I can see it, and I know you and I rhymed off a list of who's in the Rumble so far. I don't think you mentioned Kofi Kingston, did you?
Not a single person in this match is in the Rumble.
That we know of so far.
Right. For those of you who are keeping score, so far WWE has, quote-unquote, officially announced 21 out of the 30 participants in the Royal Rumble match, which we'll get into later.
We will get into that at the proper times, because there's a lot of rumors that go along with that, too, that we could address at the same time. The next match, not one that I think we can spend a whole lot of time on, but one that I think is another sort of underdog thing that people are not giving too much hope to, is Paige and Natalya Neidhart versus the Bellas.
This one I want to watch.
Yes.
And saying something from a Divas match, I actually do want to watch this, because you have Paige and Natalya, who obviously have phenomenal in-ring ability, and they're finally starting to do something with them. Even if it's a tag team Divas match, but they're putting it on pay-per-view in terms of trying to make it a relatively big deal. So I'm curious where this is going to go. Now, I've heard other rumors and ramblings, of course, that we all have. I heard the latest rumor, I don't know, and the only reason I bring this up is that it may factor into this matchup, but I don't know if WWE pulled the trigger so soon. The rumor is that Brie will turn again on Nikki. That the whole thing of Brie versus Nikki wasn't just dropped for no reason, and that they eventually plan on doing Nikki versus Brie for the Divas title at WrestleMania.
You know what? As much as that makes a lot of people groan, and as much as I am firmly in the sort of AJ Page camp,
yeah,
I can't say I would entirely mind Bella versus Bella at Mania.
No,
I really can't. For no other reason. Like, there's a lot of reasons. Like, there's been a long, ongoing story and whatever. There's sort of a built-in credibility or sort of a built-in understanding anytime you have a family match. You know, Brett versus Owen, Edge versus Christian, Bella versus Bella. If, I don't know if Ric Flair ever took on David Flair, but...
Kane versus Taker, quote-unquote.
Kane versus... Well, storyline or real. Like...
Yeah.
The Dudleys facing each other, the Hardys facing each other at WrestleMania 25.
Right.
Even if there isn't an ongoing story, there's a little bit of sort of built-in, sort of cut and paste credibility to any Goldust and Stardust that the people have been asking for ages.
Right.
There's a built-in thing there, and I think if given the proper stage, if given like, okay, WrestleMania is the big ball, but if you give Nikki and Brie the ball one time, and I mean give it to them all the way, they will show what I've been saying for quite a while, that they have improved as much as they say they have, as much as I say they have, and whatever. Are they the best? Absolutely not. Nobody's going to say that they are. But you can't say that Nikki and Brie Bella today are not night and day from when they debuted.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So the only reason I brought up that rumor is because I'm not sure if that would factor into this particular matchup. I think that if WWE was... I think that it's a little too soon for that. But, at the same token, this could be an opportunity for Brie to portray Nikki, give Paige and Natalya the win, and still have Nikki keep the championship and start the ball rolling from there. And I'm not depending on how they write it, I'm a huge fan. I've said this many times. I'm a huge fan of them stretching out rivalries for about 3 months, especially around WrestleMania season. Obviously, we've seen Sting and Triple H being teased starting back in Survivor Series, and they just did it again this past night on a Raw. So wouldn't be opposed to Brie turning on Nikki. To be completely honest, I really don't see any reason Nikki and Brie should win this match.
No. I think it's cool. I think people have looked a little too hard at this because they're like, oh, why are Paige and Natty a team all of a sudden? Oh, it's just because of Total Divas, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing, at the end of the day...
That part, I'm looking at the Bella part more.
Yeah. Oh, so am I. But I just think, like, people that want to nitpick and say that things don't make sense, or they, as you say, they have a lot of the conspiracy theories where, oh, they're just using this match to push Total Divas, and that's all. But let's think about this for a second. Paige, I'm sure, wants to be Divas champion. Right? Well, that's a safe assumption.
Yep.
Natty, I'm sure, wants to be Divas champion. Right?
Yep.
Anybody looking for the Divas championship right now, as long as the Bellas hold it, knows they're going into a 2-on-1 scenario, right?
Right.
So why would you not, make the enemy of your enemy your friend, and at least in the short term, make it 2-on-2?
Yeah,
as far as the Mania rumors go, I've been saying forever, Paige versus AJ versus Nikki versus Brie. That's the match I want to see.
Yep.
That is the Divas match I want to see right now.
It could still happen.
It could still happen. But if we do Nikki versus Brie and we do the sister story at Mania for the title,
yep,
there's no reason you couldn't still do Paige versus AJ, because that match at this point doesn't even need the belt.
That's true.
Now that would require them putting 2 Divas matches on a WrestleMania, which is questionable, but I mean, not questionable as in whether it's a good idea, questionable whether WWE would do it or not.
Right.
Anyways, I didn't do this for the first match. Who are you taking in New Day versus Kid Cesaro and Rose?
New Day.
Okay, I'm going with the heels in this one. I think Kid and Cesaro are really going to show us something, and I think they're going to do something with them.
And here's the thing, I'm going to say this with the utmost stress.
Yes.
I hope and I pray I'm wrong.
Okay. Paige and Natty versus the Bellas. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Paige and Natty. Like I said, I literally, from every angle, I do not see any reason Paige and Natalya shouldn't win this match.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying even if there is no turn, even if the faces stay faces and the heels stay heels, I still want Paige and Natty to win this.
That's what yeah.
Going back to the last house show I was at, I got to see Paige versus Natty 1-on-1 go for about 20 minutes at the Rico Coliseum, and it was fantastic. Either one of them in the title hunt is a magnificent thing. Going on to the next match is one we've seen a bunch, one that, even though I'm a huge fan of The Miz, is getting old. It's the Usos versus Miz and Mizdow for the titles.
I'm actually going to be really short, sweet, to the point on this one. I see Usos retaining because I have a very strong feeling, knowing WWE, they're going to pull the trigger on Damian Sandow's face turn really soon. Supposedly, there's a rumor going around of how they're going to do it. And I don't care the how. I just think that they're going to pull the trigger very soon. And so I think that maybe this has something to do with it. And I don't see the Usos dropping the belt anytime, at least relatively anytime soon. Because, well, I'll get into that once we talk about the other tag match.
Yes.
But don't get me wrong. this matchup will be actually entertaining at every level.
I think it's only losing steam because we've seen it so much.
I think this will be the final one.
For sure. But even at this point, I think it's all like well before this Sunday. It's already overstayed its welcome. I'm sure it will be great. The Usos are great. I'm a big fan of the Miz, Mizdow, and that gimmick is great. But I think it's a little played out right now, and I think they're playing a little bit of hot potato with the belts, which doesn't really help the belts. But
Mizdow representing Boston with pride. No, seriously, he's from up here.
I don't doubt it. I have nothing to dispute you on that. My thoughts is the Usos are going to win because they're the Usos, unless what I really want to happen happens, and Naomi turns on the Usos and joins the Miz. Because, I'm sorry, other than that happening, I know they're pushing Naomi as another big up-and-coming contender in the Divas division. Yeah. I'm not buying it. I know she's athletic as hell, and I know on a good day she puts on a good match. But when she's not having a good day, she's really not having a good day. And as a character, I could not give less of a fuck.
See, what I would do is with her, I would have her have a sub-diva program with either Paige and Natalya first, and then build them. Because that's the only way we're going to do it. Because, look, you have two female wrestlers who have a phenomenal in-ring talent. They're not doing shit. Use them.
I would love to see, if Maurice ever decided she was going to come back, I would love to see...
supposedly, SummerSlam 2015.
Really?
Miz is trying to coerce because he wants, obviously, his wife with him.
Yeah.
If they can. She's kind of on the fence because I believe she's doing a business or something like that from home, so she, must work for her.
Okay.
But it's up in the air.
But can you imagine the inner turmoil, so to speak? Usos lose to Miz and Mizdow because Naomi goes with the Miz. Miz and Mizdow hold the titles for a bit longer, with Naomi as kind of like their running mate or manager or whatever you want to call it. Right. Maurice makes her re-debut in the WWE, smacks the living taste out of Naomi's mouth. There's her return match for SummerSlam.
I love it, actually.
It's simple, and again, I'm saying, would it be the best match in the world? No, but it'd be a great way to bring him back. And you could have a sort of Fandango-esque, look at me, I'm so cocky, I'm so arrogant. Look, I think I can have two women at once. Oh, wait. That doesn't work out very well. Because, I mean, I like The Miz, but because he's a heel and because he's kind of a funny heel, when life really sucks for The Miz, it really sucks. Perfect example is when he was backstage with the Legends on Raw, and he really tried to do the whole Wolfpack thing with Nash, and Nash just sort of started to do it and then just stroked his hair instead.
How about those pictures that Sandow took?
Oh, the crotch shot battle between X-Pac and X-Pac Dow?
I loved it.
Oh my god. And it's funny because everybody's laughing, or I wouldn't say everybody, but a couple people on Twitter were laughing at me. It's like, your boy got buried again. I'm like, no. My boy is sat there sandwiched between two of the biggest wrestling factions in history. Suck a fuck.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think they're going to do what I want, so I'm saying the Usos are probably going to win this. Sandow turning on him at this show, I don't see it, but it is coming soon. I can see it. I can see that being one of the few interesting things that actually happens at Fastlane.
Yeah, I hate that name.
Me too. Because I think that there's going to be a lot of car puns.
Yeah. So someone said, "Oh, you mean WWE Roadhead?"
Oh no. Mm-hmm. Oh no. That's why.
Why not?
Just why? Why don't they just honestly? And I know there's the constant debate out there as to let's just get rid of the themed pay-per-views. They've already got rid of Elimination Chamber. I don't think they should get rid of the concept matches. I just don't think you should have okay, it's August, so everybody's in a ladder match. I don't think that part of it works. All the concepts, the Hell in the Cells, the Elimination Chambers, the cage matches, the TLC matches, they all have their place. I just think they need a reason to happen.
Well, I believe they're getting rid of. I could be wrong. I think they said they were going to slowly phase out the themed pay-per-views.
I think they should have the big four and go back to having in your houses.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Not in the sense that you remember when when there was In Your Houses, they were shorter shows, they were smaller shows.
Yeah,
but I don't want that element to come back. I still want it to be a regular, like a 3-hour pay-per-view.
Give me the freaking Attitude Era names. What's wrong with that? I mean,
or no, just like Rumble, In Your House, Mania, In Your House, In Your House,
well,
In Your House.
It wouldn't be In Your House. It would be on your network.
On our channel.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, you know what though? In the very last In Your House, I think Shawn Michaels and Undertaker broke the door off of the house set, so that we can't do that. Clearly, sorry, bad idea.
But anyway, should we segue into the next tag?
Shall we segue into the next tag team match, because I think this is going to be much more exciting. And again, I'm going to say it. I already mentioned this once on your podcast yesterday. I'm going to say it again here. This will not be one of the best matches on the card. I'm saying that up front, hand on heart right now. But there's no way you can hear the Ascension versus the New Age Outlaws in 2015 and not get a big shit-eating grin on your face. Yep. Especially when you hear the rumor that if this is received well, they might be facing the APA at Fastlane.
Yeah, that should be very intriguing. The idea is, I was hesitant at first until I saw what New Age did on Raw.
Yes.
They have not missed a beat. And that's the thing that blows my mind.
Neither is JBL, for that matter.
JBL still got one of the stiffest fucking clotheslines.
Okay, and I know this is really a more Rumble match related thing, but I'm just gonna stick it in here because it seems to fit.
That's what you said.
Yes. One of the rumored, or two of the rumored participants in the Rumble match this year are the Dudleys.
Ooh.
So if they bring in the Dudleys, there's only one thing that can happen.
Dudleys versus Ascension of Mania.
Yes.
Yep.
Because, I'm sorry, they keep comparing themselves to Demolition and the Powers of Pain and the LOD. The closest thing we have still in active wrestling shape in the wrestling world today is the Dudleys. 5-time world tag team champions all over the world legitimately.
You're going to make me look this up. Alright, let me see. You're gonna make
what is it? WWF, WCW, ECW, WWE, TNA, IWGP. What have I missed?
Hold on. Are you ready for the list? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I know this off the top of my head. I don't even need to look. Okay. Make sure I get this right here. 2-time IWGP Tag Team Champion, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
They are a 1-time NWA World Tag Team Champions. They did hold the belts before TNA switched it over.
Right.
They are 2-time TNA Tag Team Champions, 1-time WWE, which is the SmackDown belts, 8-time World, and 1-time WCW. So if you do your math, that's 10 plus, it's 10 plus 12, 13, 14, 15, and I'm sorry, 8-time ECW Tag Team Champions. So that is a total, you're right, 22-time World Tag Team Champions.
And let me just stick this in here as well. That's not including the spattering of singles titles they've each had.
Which isn't... Well,
it's not a lot. Like, there's a lot... I think there's some hardcore titles in there, and I think a lot of their singles success was in TNA, obviously, which wouldn't be recognized at WrestleMania.
Yep.
But still, the natural progression of these guys to come in and mock the LOD, mock the Demolition, mock the Powers of Pain, mock the NWO, to go in succession on their way to Mania through the Outlaws, through the APA, and finally meet up with the Dudleys at Mania, will make these guys.
Yeah.
In 3 months.
A lot of people think that what happened on the Raw was a burial.
No.
No.
They're a tag team debuting on WWE, and they got to share the ring with 3 sets of tag team fucking royalty.
Let's see. One. Yeah, there was at least 2 Hall of Famers in there.
Yep.
But anyway, point being is that if you think there was a burial, just wait till the Rumble. So obviously, I think we're both in agreement that
Ascension are winning.
Yeah, and I think that what they're going to do is I think New Age are going to make them look like $1 million, which is what they need.
Although Billy Gunn with that stiff slam on Raw.
That was so great.
Put him through the fucking mat.
He freaking flew him.
But I mean, and as I said, like everything I said leading up to our Fantasy Mania idea, only works if they win all 3 matches.
Of course.
I will be 100% against it if they bring back the Dudleys for one Mania match and they beat the Ascension. Yep. Like, I'm a big fan of the Dudleys, as I've said multiple times. Bully Ray in better shape now than he ever was in any of his WWE run. Go on. Even sorry, the taller one is Connor, right? Even if, well, Connor Victor.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, okay. But Connor of the Ascension.
Okay.
Even if there was in the build up to Mania, say there's a one-on-one sort of a backstage brawl between Bully Ray and Connor.
What about me?
You're not Connor. You're OKAYFABE.
No, I'm both.
No. Remember, we found out you're also kind of suave with the legal troubles.
Shh. There's lawyers involved.
Oh my. Well, if anybody's got lawyers, it's YouTube. Anyway. Yeah, Ascension got to take this.
Yes. I definitely agree.
Not really much else to say, other than I will mark for this. If we see X-Pac show up to be there with them at ringside, that won't hurt my feelings either. With his NWO hoodie and his DX T-shirt.
That'd be hilarious.
And his '90s sweatpants. It's fine.
That would be hilarious. Now, the next matchup. I don't know which one you want to talk about first.
No. We have to take a little detour.
Okay.
On my channel, I've been doing a lot of hyping for this. I took a hiatus in December, and in January I came back sort of full force. I wanted to get a lot more interaction going. I did put out a fan interaction question last Friday, mostly because I was bored and the idea struck me. I put out 2 questions to my audience. One being, and the whole thing was to tie into the fact that everybody thinks either Bryan or Roman are going to win the Rumble. So my first question was, of the 2, who do you want to win? The second question was, if you don't want either of them to win, who would you pick instead? I just want to read a couple of answers that I got from Logan Claiborne. To question 1 actually says, I would want Reigns to win if Lesnar retains the title because, no offense to the troll, the person who dethrones Lesnar needs to be somebody that looks imposing, and Bryan just doesn't. If Rollins wins the title, then Bryan wouldn't be a bad option, though. His answer to question 2 was, Wyatt winning would be a nice turn of events. I could see Wyatt versus Lesnar being a blockbuster of a match. Imagine Wyatt versus Heyman on the microphone. That would be brilliant. Plus, it would be a good way to fully cement Wyatt in the anti-hero tweener that he already is.
I don't get me wrong. I love that idea. I just think that WWE is full force pushing Wyatt as a heel. Even though he's getting a tweener response, they're still behind him as a heel. But I wouldn't.
The thing that WWE needs to realize in that regard is there's some of us out there that just like heels. So the better heel you make them, the more we're going to cheer him.
Oh, yeah.
Laurel Lewis says, I want Daniel Bryan to win because I think D-Bry could have a better match with Lesnar than Reigns, or maybe do Cena versus Bryan too. Interesting point. Cena and Bryan wasn't horrible. Bryan versus Lesnar I have my issues with, which we'll get into later on. Question 2, he said, I would have Ziggler win because you could do the whole underdog storyline with Ziggler if Lesnar keeps the belt, and I feel you could really make Ziggler into a main eventer with a match against Lesnar.
He does have a little bit of the momentum going.
He has the momentum. He has the whole, he's guilty by association because he supported Cena so much. So he could have that similar overcoming the authority, overcoming the beast.
And the other thing, too, is that you wouldn't think of him because he was quote-unquote fired.
Right.
So that might not be...
So Rumble will technically be his first day back from being fired.
Right.
Unless he shows up on SmackDown. Because even though SmackDown is on Wednesdays here in Canada, it got delayed for me today because of a basketball game. So it was actually happening while we started recording.
Now, I'm just going to say this before you keep going and let you obviously finish. But I was listening to a lot of people talking about different people who they think would win and who they theorize, and most of the names have been generally the same collective. However, there's one name on the list that not a soul has mentioned except for one person. I listened to this person's compelling argument about why he would put this person here, and the more I thought about it, the more it would intrigue me because it's so different.
Shoot.
But I'll let you finish first. I just want to throw that teaser there.
Okay. So we'll get through the answers that people have given me, and we'll get through a couple of questions that people actually had for you and I, and then you can drop your bomb, and then we'll talk about the last two matches.
Cool.
Gary Monahan says, I would love to have Roman Reigns win and have him beat his elimination record in the process, and have him face Seth Rollins for the title, where somewhere along the way Ambrose costs Rollins the title and reignites their unfinished feud. Great point all the way around. A lot of people have thoughts swirling on how they could turn this into a Shield triple threat.
Yep.
Which it's a popular want in the YWC, but things that are popular turns into, in WWE's eyes, I think they turn into things that are, if people want them already, which means they've already been thinking about them, then they're predictable. Then they throw in a swerve for no reason.
Right.
As for who you would pick instead, here's one for you. I would have Ryback win and go on to face Brock. One former Heyman guy versus the present Heyman guy, because Brock is leaving anyway, and Brock should... And... Hold on, I lost my place. Brock is leaving anyway, and the big shock of Heyman turning on Brock and costing him the title would really boost Ryback and piss the Authority off. I guess playing off on the fact that he just got fired as well. I don't think there's enough people behind Ryback for that to work or be as impactful as he wants it to be.
And when you say that Ryback's a former Heyman guy, it's kind of like you have to say it with like air quotations, kind of like how Curtis Axel was a Heyman guy.
Yeah, he was a Heyman guy to keep Heyman on TV to remind us that Lesnar was a thing.
Exactly.
As I say,
not horrible.
He's not horrible, and I don't think people give him the credit that he deserves, but not for a spot like that, in my personal opinion. The way he's got it set out there and some of the logic behind it is absolutely there. Personally, I couldn't buy it at this point. Give him a couple more years. Give him a couple more years of good booking, absolutely, but not right now. If, say, off the top of my head, I could see if Roman Reigns becomes the next big power guy, right, then Roman Reigns could put over Ryback in that way in a couple of years. Matt Jericho, question 1, says, I want Reigns to win because I really want to see a Shield 3-way, or I would also love to see Lesnar versus Reigns. I have a feeling it could be a great match. So do I. I don't think a lot of people agree with that, but his answer to question 2 would be, I would want Ambrose to win, and I don't care who he faces, Lesnar or Cena, or like I said, the Shield 3-way. It might be too soon, but it's not like he has to beat Lesnar or anything. I just want him in one of those matches. So basically, the idea being, I want Ambrose in the title picture no matter who he's facing. Okay. Ambrose is a wild card, and Ambrose, the way they're playing him up to be super crazy, no pun intended, I could see them using that to make him look credible against either Lesnar or Cena, or especially if Rollins is the champion by that point. But they've also been playing up a lot that his craziness is usually his own undoing, so I could see him winning the Rumble and then not getting it done on the big stage, which would piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, questions for us, and I asked my viewers to ask questions specifically for this collab with the hashtag SPOK, which I'm going to do going forward because people seem to like the idea.
Oh, by the way, sorry, I'm going to just drop this plug right quick.
Sure.
I'll be doing a live Q&A actually on Friday, January 23rd on my channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel. So if you guys want to just come over, I'll be answering questions from the last Q&A question thing I asked for you guys.
I asked you a few questions in that one, didn't I?
Like 50.
I'm trying to compete with Zohan.
You a-hole. Okay, this is Spaz Phoenix again. Yeah, literally, I think like one of them was like, make sure you plug our collab.
Well, that's technically not a question, though, so it's 49. I will say I don't come close to the questions that we get from Zohan, though, who has literally sent me 100 questions for my Q&A, which is coming out next week. But Logan Claiborne says, hashtag SPOK, I have a theory. As we all know, Lesnar may leave after Mania. Would you be opposed to Heyman turning on Lesnar to side with Rollins at the Rumble? Lesnar could pin Cena for the win. and Heyman could distract Lesnar so that Rollins could attack him and cash in after the beatdown. Rollins wins the title, goes to Mania as champ with Heyman in his corner versus the Royal Rumble winner and Lesnar in a triple threat. What do you think of that idea?
I would be opposed to that idea, but the only thing is that I think that you need to have either Heyman or Authority and not both.
Right.
And so, how do you combat that? I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
My problem with it is a lot. My problem, I think it would be great, interesting TV. My problem with it in general is if Rollins is the champion at that point, and the Royal Rumble winner, whoever that is there, and you've got another guy. You've got one guy that in kayfabe defeated 29 other guys to get there, and another guy that's got the same opportunity that didn't, and it waters down the value of the Royal Rumble match. That's the problem I have with it in theory. Now, throw that theory out the window, and you could potentially have a great story there that people don't really predict. But if Rollins is the champ and Lesnar is getting his rematch at WrestleMania, and the Royal Rumble winner is going to get annihilated, I would think.
Yep.
And I think for Lesnar to drop the belt and then come back for one more match as the challenger before he leaves, which is what we assume he's doing,
would be a bad idea.
I think it would be him coming out with a whimper, because I think if he's leaving, there's no way they're going to give the title back to him.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I dropped the title 2 months ago, but I thought I'd come back to wave goodbye one more time. Like, it would have that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And, I mean, back at WrestleMania 20, with Lesnar versus Goldberg, when we knew they were both leaving, how much did that match get shit on?
Oh, right, Jesus.
And the other point of that being as well is if Rollins is the champion, and say Bryan wins the Rumble, ROH fans start going nuts. You throw Lesnar into that mix, and people will get pissed off just at him for being there.
Yeah.
My example would be when we had the brief run of matches between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, and they were great. And then we threw in Kane for reasons. But no, great question, great scenario for sure.
Yeah.
I have theoretical problems with it, but I will admit for myself they are just nitpicks. Cheney815 asks us 2 questions and says, in big capital letters, here are my pre-Rumble questions. Thank you, Cheney. Since we know that Daniel Bryan is going to be in the Royal Rumble match, do you think they're going to pull off a Rumble 94 and make him and Roman Reigns the co-winners?
Ooh, shit. Didn't think of that one. I did. Shit.
The only way that would work would be to turn Roman heel. They would have to. They would have to pull a Batista, and even if he wasn't heel, he'd be heel.
No, I don't think they're gonna pull the co thing, because the point this year is who's gonna take the belt off Brock, and I think that's essentially you can't do it that way.
I think you've got the perfect point there. Like, this is the guy that beat the streak, and we're still sort of riding that a little bit. Some might say we're actually even riding that a little too hard these days. But it really is like Brock Lesnar is the trophy in this case. I don't think, as much as the title should be the focus, I think Brock Lesnar himself is the trophy now that he achieved that over Undertaker. So that should be a one-on-one thing. Now, if you have co-winners of the Rumble, and there's a mini feud at Fastlane between Bryan and Roman Reigns to see who gets that shot, if they want to do that extra little hiccup in the middle pay-per-view like they've done in the past, I could see that going well. I really could. But either way, I think the YWC universe is pretty split down the middle, as far as half of them are backing Reigns and half of them are backing Bryan, and very rarely do the twain meet. So I think literally you'd have an internet war at Fastlane, which in itself could be interesting, but again, you get to that whole thing where it's like, okay, Rumble mean the winner of the Rumble gets a shot at Mania, but in this scenario, it'd be like, okay, the winner of the Rumble might get a shot at Mania. It's one of those. And I mean, triple threats are overdone at WrestleMania because they want to get more people on the card. I mean, they gave Daniel Bryan 2 matches last year that I don't think he deserved, but that's another story for another time. Cheney's second question for us is one that kind of makes me laugh. I've read these over before we started recording. Let's say it's down to 2 competitors prior to the last entrant coming out. The 2 guys somehow eliminate each other, meaning that the number 30 entrant into the Rumble would simply have to step into the ring to win. Do you think WWE is crazy enough to pull that off, much less with Daniel Bryan? I like Daniel Bryan, but that would be a what the fuck is this bullshit moment even for me. Thanks for answering. I think no matter who it was, no matter what the scenario, if that's how the Rumble was won, they'd get a big middle finger from everybody.
Not only that, how do you justify that? I'm the number 1 contender. I outlasted 29 guys because they fucking eliminated each other, you a-hole.
That would only work for a heel. An ending like that, and I'm gonna say this because he's my boy, an ending like that would work for The Miz.
Actually, I thought, well, okay.
An ending like that would work for The Miz because The Miz would literally walk in and do nothing and come out on Raw the next night bragging about how he beat 29 other guys because he's that kind of character. I could see that working for somebody like The Miz.
Okay.
No, I actually, to be more to the point, I don't see anybody else that could work for but The Miz. I really don't. Like, I'm going through the roster in my head, but
I can think of one other person.
Who's that?
Well, it's the person that I have my special pick about.
Okay. Do you want to drop that yet?
It's up to you.
Okay. We only got a couple more questions, so let's just go through. Logan Claiborne came back to us again. #SPOK. Of the guys I'm about to list, who do you think is the biggest dark horse to win the Royal Rumble? Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, or Sting?
First off, I doubt Sting's going to be in the Rumble.
I could see Sting making an appearance in the Rumble. To be fair, I could see him being a part of it briefly, like making a brief stint appearance. But there's no way that Sting's going to ever be in the title picture.
Dean would be your dark horse then.
Dean, for me, a dark horse is somebody that you don't think of right off the top of your head, but would make complete sense. And already, I am pretty sure that Dean is going to do something with Rollins at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with that.
Dolph Ziggler, I would say no for the same reasons, because I'm equally sure that Dolph Ziggler is going to do something with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. So, I know I'm setting out 2 very different scenarios for the same guy there, but Bray Wyatt, we've already heard rumors that he's slotted in to do something with The Undertaker.
Yeah.
So the longest shot would be Sting, because I don't think he's ever going to be in the title picture. The darkest horse, I want to say Bray and Dean so bad. I really do, but Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler would be he's not necessarily the one that's on the top of everybody's mind, but he's the biggest feel good because he's been dicked around for so long. Yeah. Both of his world title runs were jokes, and not for any fault of his own.
Right.
And then kayfabe wise, he's been basically castrated by the Authority just for associating with Cena.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel bad for anybody that associates with Cena, in kayfabe or not. I got to go with Ziggler on that one.
Okay, I can agree with that one.
The Zohan, who we've already been talking about enough, asks us one hell of a question that we've already tap danced around all night. Based on the double main events of the Royal Rumble and the most likely possible outcomes, which would be the best WrestleMania 31 main event for the WWE World Heavyweight title? Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan, John Cena versus Daniel Bryan, John Cena versus Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, or Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan?
Honestly,
the best in-ring match is going to be Rollins and Bryan.
Yes.
The biggest spectacle?
To me, would be Cena Bryan.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because there's a couple things you can put. There's a couple of ways you can pitch that. Number one, you can pitch it as the passing of the torch. Number two, you can also pitch that as the return match because I could be wrong, but technically John Cena has never defeated Daniel Bryan.
Nope.
You can use it as a pitch. So as far as like from building, matchmaking, promotional wise, whatever you want to call it, I'm
worried about Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan only because if Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan happens, we know Daniel Bryan's going to win.
See, what I would well, if it was for the belt.
Yes.
See, what I would do is
well, that's not. He's talking about main events for the title.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I would have done is I would have had Seth versus Bryan with a briefcase on the line.
See, that I could do only if it was in a ladder match again. I don't want to see it, and I can't put my finger on it, but there is somewhere in the back of my head there is some intrigue with Cena versus Reigns. I can't put. I don't. I'm not even saying that I want to see it necessarily.
I would wait. I would wait
till next year.
Oh yeah, keep those two as far away from each other as you can, because
now when that match does happen, does there need to be a title involved?
The first time, yes, because I see, and this is going to get a lot of backlash. One of the things that I was interacting on some video, on some live stream, and I said that one of the things I'm kind of sick of is the underdog story. I'm sick to death of it because we see it so many times, particularly with Cena. One thing that would be nice and refreshing would be to see two superstars, quote unquote, with similar greatness to them, or similar value, or just they're two very dominant, powerful superstars. What happens when the immovable force meets the irresistible force meets the immovable object kind of deal. What I'm talking about, the best example to compare that to is Austin Rock.
Yes. Now I've said, if Roman Reigns wins the Rumble, I don't want Cena to win, because I don't think Cena versus Reigns needs to happen right now. But what I have said, if Rollins or Lesnar walks out with the belt, then I want John Cena to be in the Rumble match, and just to piss off the entire YWC, I would love to see the Rumble come down to John Cena versus Roman Reigns, which could be the seeds planted for a match later on. But have the last moments of the Rumble this year be Roman Reigns giving John Cena the rock bottom and tossing him out of the ring.
See, I would do, if you're able to do it, I would have Roman Reigns versus John Cena at WrestleMania 32.
Okay.
Now, hear me out. We're going under the assumption that Reigns wins the belt. So you give him a year as champion, and you have Cena versus Reigns, and this is the big one. Ready for this? Ready? This is a big leap of faith here.
Okay.
You have Cena versus Reigns at the Rumble for the belt.
Okay.
You either do a controversial finish or Reigns just beats him.
Okay.
And then you do the rematch at 32, and guess what the stipulation is?
Cena's career on the line?
Exactly.
And then everybody suddenly likes Roman Reigns because he got rid of John Cena?
I mean, that's the way I would send him out.
Oh, for sure. And it's the whole, like, hey, your cousin gave me the torch to hold on to for a bit, so here you go. Peace. And Matt Jericho asks us about something we've already kind of been talking about in this video already. It's the only question in this Q&A that is not about the main events. What's up, guys? Do you think it would be cool, next pay-per-view, Fastlane for the Ascension, to have a match against the APA? And I think we've already said yes. And we've already said where we want to see it go after that. But that only hinges on the Dudley Boy rumors actually being true. Because here's the thing, and I just thought of this just now. If they do Outlaws at Rumble, and if they do APA at Fastlane, and the Dudleys, in fact, do not come back, where the hell do the Ascension go?
Titles. I know. But
yeah, but here's the thing though, like, if the titles are still going to be on the Usos, and the Usos are so stale at this point, like going from the New Age Outlaws to the APA to the Usos, and I'm not trying to be a dick when I say that, because I do have respect for what they can do in the ring, and all of that.
And you do a 4-way.
Okay, so you throw in
Stardust, Goldust, Cesaro, Kid.
There you go.
Usos and Ascension. Boom.
There you go. Another thing that's been kicked around the YWC for a long ass time is if all three of them were to turn heel, Roman Reigns has a mini Samoan faction with the Usos to back him up. See how all three of them survive as heels.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Our last question is Mike Salim, who says, "My question of you guys is, what would you think if WrestleMania ends up being a fatal four-way, Rollins versus Lesnar versus Cena versus Bryan?" I'm gonna say no.
I would be interested.
It's too muddy. And what you've got again is what I mentioned earlier. Like the challenger at WrestleMania should be the guy that beat 29 other guys. You've got the guy that beat 29 other guys, and the other two guys that lost on the same night, all of a sudden are all on an even keel again as far as being contenders for the title. Sorry, it's interesting. It's creative, if nothing else. I'm really strongly of the opinion that the WrestleMania main event needs to be a one-on-one match, first of all, to keep the value of the Royal Rumble win alive.
Yeah,
and that's just too many people.
The only way the Fatal Four would work is if you had the other two participants be in an equally important rivalry of some kind. So, for example, let's say you had Cena, Brock, Bryan, and Rollins, right? So you'd have to.
Well, you do kind of have like the whole Cena and Bryan are the two guys that have been taking on the Authority versus Rollins, who's the sort of the figurehead of the Authority, and Lesnar, whose manager has been kissing ass to the Authority. You tease dissension between the heels, one of the faces win, everybody goes home moderately happy, I guess. But yeah, we've talked the hell out of the two main events already. The other thing we want to talk about, or one thing that I wanted to throw out there before we call this a day, because we've been going for quite a while. We've already talked about the Dudleys potentially being in the Rumble. You have some other ones that you mentioned to me on the podcast, if you want to re-bring them up.
So the rumors was Bo Dallas would be returning, Rob Van Dam would be returning, and that maybe we might see DDP in the Rumble.
Which, RVD I could take or leave. Bo Dallas, it'll be cool because it's not a one-time thing. It's sort of his return to the roster. So I hope if he's just coming back from injury that he can make a good showing of himself.
Yep.
DDP I don't think has ever been in a Rumble, if I'm not mistaken.
2002.
2002. Okay, so that we don't quite have that element that I thought we had, but he's doing DDP yoga and he can do more than most people his age can do. So you never know what DDP could do in a Rumble effort. The other part of that is obviously the developing trend of debuting NXT guys in the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were mentioning all the spectacular high flyers they have on NXT, and I'll give you a spot to mention them in a moment, but I really want to see, and you're going to sing again, I know, but I want to see one of the Wrecking Balls from NXT go into the Rumble. I want to see either a Kevin Owens or a Bull Dempsey or a Baron Corbin in the Rumble, because those guys need to have their moments. The other guys that you're going to mention, I'm assuming you're going to go along the lines of somebody like a Neville or a Zayn.
Actually, no, and the only reason I say Zayn is because the way they're programming NXT, I'd probably pick a couple of guys who are in, because right now in WWE know they're doing an NXT tournament to crown the new number one contender for the title.
Okay.
Although they just officially announced on NXT tonight that it will be Zayn versus Owens for the title at the next NXT TakeOver on the 11th.
You know who I would like to see, and it would be one of those comedy things because the two of them would take up one entrance spot, I think. I think a brief, light moment in the Rumble could be the mainstream debut of Enzo and Cass.
Huh.
Because, they're a fun group, but you see Cass, when he's in the ring, he can throw some bodies around as well. He doesn't look like it because he's tall and he's kind of not... He's a built guy, but he looks kind of lanky because he's so stretched out. So yeah. He's almost unassuming. But I would love to see him go in there and start throwing some people around with Enzo kind of like behind him, being like the chicken hawk attitude. Yeah, I'm a chicken hawk. And especially if he gets to do his whole fucking entrance like he does on NXT, like the speaking bit.
Yeah.
Enzo and like we talked about Kid and Cesaro being the serious New Age Outlaws. Enzo and Cass are straight up the next New Age Outlaws.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not even funny how much they are the next. And I don't like. I should clarify. I don't like statements like that usually. Like people say Bray Wyatt is the next Undertaker. I don't quite like that because Wyatt needs to be his own guy. And I'm not saying it. I'm not saying I don't like it because I don't think Wyatt could reach that level one day. I just think he needs to be his own guy. But as far as the comedy charisma shtick that Enzo and Cass bring, I think it is very. It's almost tribute to Outlaws, whether it's intentional or not.
Right.
And Carmella's not hard on the eyes either.
There you go. Now, before we wrap it up, there was one particular wrestler that I wanted to bring up that I think. Do I realistically think he'll win the Rumble? No, but it's an intriguing concept and fun thought to entertain because this is someone who I guarantee you no one thought, no one thinks is going to win the Rumble.
Shane McMahon.
Close. But this person who has been announced for the Rumble, who, if you think about how this person gets possibly integrated, could create some very intriguing matches. So I said, and this is what I was saying was, no one else I've seen mention this name in terms of people who they think would Rumble. But it would be but this one person went on like a tangent about like how they would put him with the champion who would win the belt, and it just made it more like I wanted to see it even more. And that person is Rusev. What if Rusev won the Rumble? No, seriously, think about it for a little bit.
I know. Man, I could list off all the logical reasons that makes sense. I really could. The undefeated streak, the long U.S. title run, the fact that he's got the physical gifts, he's got the manager who's great on the mic. Mm-hmm. He's attacking the Americans. I
don't think it's going to happen either. There's just something off about it that I don't think they'll do even pull the trigger.
I think Rusev's path to Mania is once Cena's out of the title picture, he's going up against Cena.
Yeah, I agree.
Which means the streak is over.
However, it's an entertaining thought, though. I mean,
it is, but at the same time, it's like there's every reason why it would work, and I can't tell you a specific reason why it wouldn't work, other than it just I hear that and I think,
fair enough.
Because there's so many other guys, and I'm not pulling for Daniel Bryan to win whatsoever. I think that's no secret at this point. I could defend myself. I could say that I'm a huge fan of Bryan, and every single problem I have with him is the booking right now. I'm not going to go on that tangent once again. But people like Bryan. People like Punk when he was in the company. People like Ambrose. People like Rollins. People that can, even somebody like a Tyson Kidd. I know somebody was making a case a while ago how Tyson Kidd could be like the best wild card ever, which, call me crazy, I could see. Somebody like Cesaro, somebody like a Ziggler, and you see all these guys with all the ability, and they break the mold of the big guy main eventer, and I'm not putting down Rusev when I say that, but it would just feel like a step back to that. And I feel shitty saying that because I have so much respect for what the guy's done in the ring in such a short period of time. But it's that. I think they built him up properly. It's that, and it's the fact that as good as he is at his gimmick right now, it is one of those cliches. And I think you put that cliche under a main event microscope at WrestleMania, and WWE has such a good chance of going too far with it.
Fair enough. I just wanted to throw it out there before we wrap.
Oh yeah, and it's like I say, there's every reason why it should work, and on the other side of the coin, there's just me going, but there's too many. Rusev's got a lot of time, too. Yeah. And there's right at this, strike while the iron's hot minute, there's so many other people that like Rusev, but have so many other people that they've waited so long to see succeed.
Right.
Think Rumble last year. Rey Mysterio has his big, large bank of fans. But Rey Mysterio got booed out of the arena last year at the Rumble simply because he wasn't Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
And I think everybody that backs Rusev right now would, I don't want to say turn on him, but boo his placement because he's not Ambrose, because he's not Wyatt, because he's not Rollins or Cesaro or Ziggler. And that's shitty. It really, really is. Because that's such, on the one hand, it's such an intriguing thought.
You know, that basically doesn't want to entertain the idea. But...
Speaking of, I said NXT is and then I'm going to wrap this up, I promise. We've said in the past couple of years how NXT debuts have been sort of the order of the day for the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we will see, and if so, who, a Diva participant this year?
No, I don't think we'll see a Diva participant. If we did, it should be Charlotte.
I would say Natty, play it if they lose to the Bellas, if the Bellas win the tag match, and Natty wanted to go out on her own and make a moment for herself, and they wanted to tell that story for a minute or two, I wouldn't mind.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. I thought you meant NXT Divas. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, not necessarily that. It's just like...
I would just basically agree with what you just said.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been long. And we both have to go to work in very few hours.
Yep.
But yeah, as usual, I'm going to give you a couple seconds to tell people everywhere they can find you, because it's a long list.
Oh, God, it's a long list. So, folks... And now doing what I like to call the OKAYFABE Random Wrestling Podcast, which you can find now on Stitcher Radio and also iTunes as well, too, and also on ShoutEngine.com. The best way to reach me is okayfabeforever.wordpress.com. The YouTube channel, where, like I said, I'm doing a live Q&A that's coming Friday the 23rd from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. YouTube.com/okayfabeforever, or follow me on Twitter at okayfabe. That was a lot. Oh, and the latest episode features this a-hole.
Nice. And I have to take a couple of seconds, because not that I should be really doing this, but I just received something on my phone machine from or I should say, a friend of the entire YWC universe is my buddy Sal, who does all my graphics for this channel, just sent me the new graphic for the Tackle series, so I am going to... Well, it's not going to be a debut because you guys won't be able to see it, but I am going to debut it right now, right as we're talking, just because I can and because it's kind of my show and this is a thing. Okay. And it looks fucking epic. So, Sal, who just sent this to me just now, you are the man. I've taken up so much of Connor's time in the past 2 days. We are going to sign off. Thank you. Seriously, guys, go check out Connor and all the shit that he's doing. It's great. I couldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I've been Spaz. He's been Connor. I'm your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all of our conversations going. Tell us any last thoughts you have before the Rumble this Sunday. Don't be a stranger. But for right now, myself and OKAYFABE are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Peace.